Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm honored to be joining you here today at the AlBaraka Summit to explore recent developments within the Islamic investment space. I'll start by saying that ensuring there is a complete suite of Islamic investment products, banking services, insurance products, mortgage products, and also incorporating new world technology and the green agenda is essential to building out a complete Islamic economy. Of course, there are other considerations as well. In this section, we intend to focus on Islamic investment products. So a lot of what I'm going to say today, I think, will echo points made by previous speakers, many of which are crucial, so please do bear with me. So starting by making the point, we heard some great stats earlier, but starting with the point that, that we're set to reach over $2.5 trillion globally in terms of the size of the Islamic finance industry. It's clearly rapidly evolving, which can be seen by the growth of products and services within the green and sustainable investment space, fintech, Islamic microfinance, the takaful industry, and the development of investment products available to Muslim investors worldwide. Encouragingly, the number of Islamic startups is also growing rapidly, suggesting crucial innovation is taking place and entrepreneurship is being encouraged and financed. The City of London, of course, has a long, proud history of financial innovation, which we've heard already today many times, and that now includes the Islamic finance space. And I myself am very pleased to have been actively involved from London in that innovation, having helped to create simple, easy to understand investment products that are designed to ensure that the range of saving and investment options available to the Muslim community, not just in the UK but worldwide, is not limited. Our mission is to help communities and people across countries save and invest in a reliable and consistent manner, consistent with their beliefs, over their saving and investment life cycle, and all the way out to and through retirement in the same way and on the same terms as their non-Muslim counterparts. When we initially looked at the Islamic investment space, we found there was a lack of low-cost investment products that could be used for building savings and retirement portfolios. In fact, when I say we, I mean HSBC Asset Management, we have one of the largest Sharia-compliant global equity index funds in the market. It has around $3.5 billion under management. And it's very popular with the UK defined contribution pension schemes. But we noticed when we looked at how the product was being used by DC pension schemes, that many of the scheme members only had that one fund as a default and had to combine it with Sharia non-compliant investment products of various kinds, or simply risk having too much equity exposure within their portfolios. So we set out to change that by creating a number of additional products. It's been an interesting journey, and I've learned a lot about the different perspectives on the Islamic finance from across countries, regions, and communities, but my personal perspective is only one of many. Today, I'm very pleased to be joined by two distinguished gentlemen, Adnan Halawi and Khalid Howladar. Apologies if I've mispronounced your name. They'll be talking to you about modern developments within the Islamic finance space, including decentralized finance, digital currencies, fintech, and how Islamic finance is rapidly moving to incorporate the ever more important green agenda. By its very nature, Islamic finance has a very strong ethical dimension, which we've heard a lot about today, to which it requires us to respect our communities, the people we work with, and the environment. So if anything, the ESG movement is catching up with many of the important tenets of Islamic finance rather than it being the other way around. So with that said, let me pass over to our first speaker today, Adnan, who'll be talking about Islamic Investment Solutions, funds, sukuk, and stock. Adnan, over to you.
Thank you. Are the slides ready? Yes. So I'll make it very quick. I know everyone is hungry. Thank you very much for hosting us again, AlBaraka. It feels like today, now it's like a ritual. So make sure we have this conference, I would say, next year as well. We're getting used to it. Thank you. I'll quickly go through my slides. I know everyone is hungry. So I represent today the London Stock Exchange Group, which also has my company, Refinitiv, Reuters, Financial Risk and Business. So we have data. And I'll be very brief because you've heard this over and over again. But obviously, London continues to be the Islamic finance hub in Europe and a global, I would say, hub for many reasons. If I go quickly through my slides, some statistics. We are definitely here in the UK, the biggest Islamic banking assets in Europe, excluding Turkey, obviously. That's not in this chart. UK Islamic funds by type, active funds, we have a lot of them in UK. The report obviously is there, and we can check. This is the 2022 report, last year. You can download it and see it later. Countries ranked by number of Islamic fintech companies. UK is the second highest after Indonesia. And UK also, in terms of fintechs, is top 10 countries by GIFT index scores. It ranks 5th, obviously. Moving to this slide, top 5 Islamic 5 education providers globally, UK is one of them. That's very important. So it's an educational center for Islamic finance. If I go to my expertise, basically, we do have the London Stock Exchange is one of the biggest, obviously, stock exchanges for hosting, for listing sukuk. We attract sukuk from all over the world. For some reason, they do come list here on the London Stock Exchange, with around 68 listed currently, with more than $50 billion raised through the stock exchange, and the very known fact that UK is one of the first, if not the first, sovereign Western sukuk with 2 issuances on record. To that extent, I will sometimes I will read quickly from notes just to be accurate. Also, London Stock Exchange brags about having the exchange-traded funds on Islamic indexes, something that we would like to discuss more. London Stock Exchange has also a vibrant market in exchange-traded funds, including 3 Sharia-compliant ETFs, available through 6 multi-currency lines based on Islamic indexes. ETFs are open-ended index tracking funds listed and traded on exchanges like shares. They allow investors to gain exposure to a diverse range of assets and offer simple and efficient access to developed and emerging markets, broad and sector indexes. If you want to learn more about that, you can always Google that, so I'll move on. Another supporting argument why UK is the key role that UK plays on a global scale in regulating the market, in launching, and if you look at the sustainability sector now and ESG, a lot of the regulations that are issued in the world or that are followed are standards start from the UK and Europe in general, obviously. And that's why it has a very, I would say, emotional and a practical impact on the financial services industry around the world. And that we are being here, it's also important to mention that, for example, 2 years ago, they did this high-level working group for green and sustainability sukuk. The HMRC was involved, the London Stock Exchange was involved, and there's UK IFC and the City UK. So we cannot underestimate the continuous efforts that are being done in London and in the UK in terms of supporting Islamic finance, sukuk, you name it. Moving on, I promise to be fast. This is a very interesting slide, and I will read again. We just launched a report with Responsible Finance and Investment Foundation. I think many of you know Blake Good, our figure in Islamic finance and responsible finance. And the report is a very interesting study that you can download as well and find online, where we analyzed the impact of having Sharia screen on addition to the ESG screening. And this is a very interesting report. Maybe we'll come back to that in our panel later on. But there is some proven statistical approach that adding ESG and sustainability screening next to the Sharia-compliant equity screening has some value, especially in certain markets, maybe not everywhere. I will move quickly to the next one. Before I move to the, we move to the next the rest of the presentation, is the way going forward. I historically was always an optimistic person, and when we started covering sukuk, I remember in 2008, sukuk was 200 or 300 sukuk only in the world. Now we're talking about thousands of instruments and issued. Sukuk was an unknown term, as Bashar was saying yesterday in our breakfast. Bashar, where are you? I can't see Bashar. Anyway, so sukuk wasn't a known word. Now sukuk is a globally known word. So going forward, we need to think about technology, AI, and digital, sustainability and green, how to capitalize on that, and definitely to think about the smaller businesses. And with that, I will leave the floor to you guys.
Adnan, thank you very much. Short and sweet, as you promised. Okay, Khalid, over to you. Let's go from conventional investing to new world digital space.
Oh, sorry. A bit of background. Up until 6 years ago, a very normal, if what, dull financial career. The defining part was 16 years at Moody's, where I was head of Middle East banks, so 45 conventional, 15 Islamic, and global head of Islamic. So that's my old world experience. 6 years ago, I set up my own advisory, which is the least interesting part, but I started investing in startups. So over the last 6 years, I've invested in 15 different startups. Around half of them are Islamic economy, from halal food to education to halal crypto. And this gives me a bit of a perspective, whereas before I worked from the top down with central banks, with regulators, with banks, etc. I'm now coming from the bottom up, and actually I think the bottom up is how we actually get changed. I've been speaking for about 25 years, and honestly, I'm not impressed, right? $3 trillion of Islamic banking. Has it done anything genuinely consistent for the ummah to make a difference? I don't think so. Sukuk, no offense, I don't think it's made a huge difference. Whether it's a bond or a sukuk, I don't think it's changed the narrative. And if we look at the context of what's happening in the world at the moment, in Gaza and elsewhere, and a prayer for those, the concept of decentralization is something that if you take away one thing from this presentation, it's just that the idea of decentralization has implications beyond finance, whether it's media, whether it's ethics, and it's just something that you should keep in the back of your minds. Most of my experience here comes from investing in a startup built by some very passionate, young, energetic Muslims. For me, it's been an academy of learning around decentralization and digital assets. And I hope to share some of that awareness with you, because this is how the ummah really gets into the Islamic economy of something different. I hope, inshallah. Jamie Dimon, somebody you might know, he said, decentralized finance where banks are replaced by algorithms is real. A bank is just a collection of processes. I can put half of your staff into a smart contract, put in some AI, and then it will run at 1/10 the cost of your institution. So banking, if it doesn't get into this technology, there'll be winners and losers. Jamie Dimon, interesting. I saw him in Washington, and he was all negative about crypto and DeFi and etc. And then guess what? He's the first guy to launch in this space. So JP Morgan is all over this space. DBS Singapore, they just done a trade with Barclays. There's a lot happening in this space. Boston Consulting Group, $16 trillion is their low bound estimate for the value of assets that will be tokenized by 2030. 16 trillion. So I'm of the absolute belief the world is coming on chain. Finance will come on chain, onto the blockchain. What is the blockchain? Simplistically, it's just a settlement network. But you integrate trade, finance, banking, business, all on one network. The efficiencies of scale you get through this on a global basis is extraordinary. For me, as important as the internet was 20 years ago, This is the importance of blockchain. Nobody cares how the internet works. You shouldn't care, frankly, how the blockchain works. It should disappear, and it will just be a layer where you build your banking apps, where you build your banks on the blockchain, you build your businesses on the blockchain. And whether you are in Singapore, Gaza, Washington, you will all be interconnected. The UK is number one in Europe. We've seen the statements from the Prime Minister. Maybe this is an upside of Brexit, I'm not sure. But the ability of the UK to take a different position in digital assets means they're not encumbered by legacy. And you can see the difference. I think, what is that? It's about $250 billion worth of transactions in the 12 months to July 23. 250 billion on-chain in the UK. How many people here are doing anything on-chain? I suspect 0 to 1%. So you're actually not part of that. Now imagine if only 5% of you come on-chain, what will that do to that number? BlackRock, Vanguard, I'm sure HSBC, Bitcoin ETF is the story. When Larry Fink is your biggest evangelist for Bitcoin, you know it's coming. And then even globally, the UK is number 3. So this means UK businesses, UK financial services can actually take a lead globally. Whatever you do here, it's truly a global network. It's a global ecosystem. So a UK business on chain can sell and do business and do finance anywhere globally. Look, at one of the projects I'm at, they have a Telegram group of 50,000 Muslims, some non-Muslims. 80% of the questions, is this halal, is this haram? It's funny, like this token, that token, this protocol. Crypto is a very loose and generic term. It's just a definition of a technology. The simple answer, it depends. Technology is intrinsically neutral and halal. Nobody asks, is your telephone network halal? Nobody asks, is Microsoft Excel halal? But if you use it for something bad, it's haram. If you use it for something good. So questions, when I've seen scholars come out and say, oh, crypto's haram, it completely misses the point. And it actually has the effect of keeping the ummah out of a space where instead of following, for once, maybe we can lead. And there's a reason why that can happen. So again, simplistically, it's what you do with the blockchain that matters, not the technology itself. From the scholars who I've met, who are educated, who have studied the space, just so that you know, Bitcoin is, the consensus is it's halal, but that's a whole different essay and conversation that we can go into after. What is Web3? Now, there's going to be a lot of stuff on these slides. These are for reference, so if anybody wants the slides later, I'm happy to share them. I'll just go through highlights. But simplistically, it's a user-centric versus a corporate-centric paradigm. You own your data, you own your bank account, you own the money, and other people have to engage with you. Again, lots of different bullet points I won't go into, but those are some of the features of decentralization. And if you think about the world today, what we have is a massive concentration of power, whether it's banking, whether it's media, whether it's big tech. Concentration of power means it doesn't serve local communities, it doesn't serve local businesses, it doesn't serve SMEs. So by giving power, cliche, back to the people, by making things cheaper, more efficient, faster, you can actually empower entrepreneurs. I think I saw a statistic, and maybe it's actually on the next slide. Yes. Oh no, it's not here. But I think the World Bank, there's a statistic, I think 70% of people in the world are employed by SMEs. Does JP Morgan do a good job of servicing SMEs? Probably not. It's just not worth their time. But through technology, smart contracts, AI, I can build a very cheap bank that services customers who only borrow $200. The microfinance sector, highly profitable, highly stable, doesn't get served by big banks, but with DeFi, smart contracts, we can bring that. CDeFi, centralized DeFi, banks don't need to be out of this space. With your own customer base, you can create a walled garden of KYC'd AML people, let them do peer-to-peer within your ecosystem. You could leverage DeFi even within the banking system. Some sources of halal income in Web3, I'm not going to go through them, but basically anything linked to riba, interest, lending is prohibited. Other sources of wealth, staking, liquidity mining, they exist and they are deemed to be halal based on some of the scholars that we have interacted with. Case study, this is one of the projects that has been responsible for most of my education. Again, a bunch of very young, talented, halal-sensitive Muslims from India, Canada, Australia, decentralized team. It's a wallet, non-custodial wallet. In the 18 months since launch, if you asked me 2 years ago, do Muslims, are they even on chain? Does the Ummah even care? I couldn't answer the question. There was no such thing as a halal wallet where it screens the assets that only Sharia-compliant assets are allowed. 270,000 downloads in 18 months. Mind-blowing. Now, this is not their money, 3 billion of transaction volume in 18 months. So young Muslims are on-chain already. This is how they like to conduct. I'm probably double the age of most of the guys on the team. I'm the guy that talks about KYC and AML. I'm the boring guy. But they don't want to work with banks. They don't want to be in the system. They want to do everything crypto. They want money sent instantly. So gold exchange, consumer products, payments, rewards, it's all happening. And when it comes to changing, the earlier speakers spoke about the system, the form over the substance. When you combine blockchain with tokenization, making the illiquid liquid, where somebody can sell their accounting services online for plumbing services, or someone can invest in yielding real estate, or somebody can invest in a government of Bahrain sukuk in a $100 piece. People should not be holding their money in cash. Cash is a disaster right now, and we all know why. A portfolio should have some sukuk, should have some real estate, should have some commodities, but for the average retail customer, it's impossible to manage. The costs are too high. Blockchain makes it all possible, inshallah. And that closes my presentation. Thank you.
Okay, Khalid, Adnan, thank you very much. Both fascinating presentations, loads of fantastic facts and figures. Unfortunately, we're running significantly behind time, so we're going to have to close the session here. But for the audience, we'll be very happy to take any questions you have over lunch relating to old world or new world investments. So we look forward to engaging with all of you over lunch. Thank you.